Debugging Midlife. This week I had intended to talk about something different, though I literally cannot remember what that is right now. However, I was going to call it a nightmare, but it wasn't really a nightmare. It was more like a slightly unpleasant dream. So, in this dream, I was with presumably a husband or a boyfriend, neither of which I have at the moment. However, we won a trip that included the flight and the hotel, and I don't know what else. It was Western themed. I do remember that. I have no idea of the why of that. All I can think of is that I had watched a YouTube video from a travel YouTuber I watch regularly, and he had visited some dilapidated Western themed hotel outside of Vegas, I think. I can't remember. Pretty sure it was Vegas, but anyway, this was at least like a month ago that I watched it, though I do remember finding it super interesting. That I usually do with his videos. Anyway, back to the dream. We arrived at the hotel and there was some kind of issue with our room where we couldn't get into it because the lock wasn't working. They had to call the maintenance person to resolve the issue, but they were taking a while, so we were sitting outside in the hall, like with our luggage, and on our luggage, in fact. We were talking about add-ons for the room as we looked through kind of like a brochure that the hotel had given us. Now, our room was a suite, but you had to add on things like access to the pool. I can't remember really anything else that was an add-on, but I do remember not really thinking anything of it. Like it was normal. But that it was fine because we had won the room anyway, so we might as well add some special extras. Anyway, the maintenance person arrived and we were finally able to get into the room. I was excited, so I went into the room, and of course the suite was very large because it was a suite and we had won it and, whatever. It had a weird layout, as, things in dreams normally do. And basically, you walk in and right by the door there was kind of like a mini bar area with a bar height table and 4 chairs. And the rest of the room was large, vast, like you walked up like 3 stairs. And then the rest of the area was like sitting room, like you have a living room and like a table, like a dining table. And there was huge windows that looked out over whatever city it was, which I still don't know. And it was beautiful. It was a gorgeous view. We must have been up on a high floor, but it was nighttime because the city was all lit up and like sprawled out before. I don't remember seeing the bed, but thinking about the context of the dream, maybe, the bed was an add-on as well. Anyway, I in the dream, I was taking a video and I was excited. So I went back out into the hallway because my partner was still talking to the maintenance person because even though we were able to get into the room, the lock was still broken, so we couldn't lock the door. We chatted for a bit, and then I had remembered in talking that I had seen a double door or something at the other side of the suite, and it seemed to be loud on the other side. And I was confused about it, so I went back in to investigate. And when I did, and I walked through the double door, and it was one of those swinging kind of double doors, the kind that you would find in a restaurant, that they swing both ways, like there's no knob to turn, you just push through. But in like a Western style, I guess. Anyway, which was weird because this was a room. But anyway, I walked in and like I said, on the other side was a bar. But it was like a bar, restaurant, lounge area, and there was tons of people in there. Like it was packed. And I walked into the bar and just kind of wandered around a little bit, and I was kind of confused. And I walked around to the other side of the bar and out its exit and out into the hallway, and then turned a corner to the right into the hallway. And that hallway, I could see my partner and the maintenance person in the hallway. And I told them how weird it was. And the maintenance person kind of laughed and told us that to lock the double door, the double swinging door, or to have privacy that would be extra. And in fact, the little lounge area bar in the suite was meant to be shared with everybody on the floor, and that if we wanted to have that private, that would be an additional charge as well. And that's when I woke up. I think that's when I woke up. Of course, this was a little while ago, and I did write it down and record it. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure I didn't get everything right, but that's as close as I can remember. So you're probably like, okay, what does this have to do with tech or midlife or debugging midlife or anything? And I kind of wondered that too when I had this dream, because I dream a lot and I have very vivid dreams and I remember them, but they don't always stick with me. This one has stuck with me. And what it does make me think of is the state of software and games lately. So it seems like everything being developed is just like the basics unless you pay for extras. Why, back in my day, when dinosaurs still roamed the earth, you bought something, you owned it. You bought a program or a game or a disc. It came with everything that it was meant to come with. Maybe you might get a few patches later on if something was truly broken, but that was super, super rare. That was like an exception, in my mind anyway. If you were a designer, you might have purchased, say, Photoshop CS3 and used it for a decade. If you didn't need an internet connection, you didn't need an account, you just opened, installed, and got to work. You might have to double check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that was the era of that. Microsoft Office was the same. You bought Office 97, installed it from the CD, and it still worked 15 years later on some old ancient laptop in the corner of your house. And games, real games were complete. You bought like something like Black and White, the original Baldur's Gate, the original SimCity, or Half-Life, to name just a few. And that was the whole thing. If there were expansions, they were actual expansions, not just the missing half of what they had promised in the first place. Now you buy a game and you're basically buying the right to be a beta tester. Half the time it's broken on launch and needs a dozen updates before it's playable. Like Cyberpunk 2077 or No Man's Sky, they both had to rebuild after release, basically. And for software, you don't buy it either. You rent it. Adobe Creative Suite, Microsoft 365, Autodesk, they've all moved to monthly subscriptions. If you stop paying, your tools stop working. And sometimes your own files are not even accessible. But not only that, a lot of times the subscription to software will be fairly reasonable or even free. But if you want the really good features, you have to pay extra. Zoom will happily let you host a free meeting as long as it's under 40 minutes. Want longer? That's a subscription. Notion gives you the basic notes and databases for free, but real collaboration, version history, or advanced automations, behind the paywall. And even the password managers got in on it. 1Password, Dashlane used to be one-time purchases, I think, from what I remember. Now they're yearly subscriptions, and syncing across devices costs extra. And these are only some examples of some of these pieces of software. Oh, Evernote, too, went from like a free note-taking app to limiting how many devices you can use unless you pay. And new tools like Figma or AI apps, Midjourney, ChatGPT, they give you like a few free credits or free, I can't remember what it's called in ChatGPT, but you know what I'm talking about. And then if you want higher resolution, faster rendering, more times that you can chat, that's a monthly payment. You have to pay for Pro. Canva is the same way. It's the same model everywhere. The free version is just to make you realize what you're missing. Think about the way we access games as well. Steam, the Epic Store, Xbox Game Pass, EA Play. You don't own your library. You're leasing access to it. If they pull a title or shut down a service, it's gone. All that time you had sunk into a game only to have it, bam, gone. It's crazy how normal we all think this is now, or how we don't even think about it at all. somewhere along the line, ownership turned into access, and access turned into subscription. Anyway, the hotel thing doesn't actually happen. Not yet, anyway. I mean, who knows? I mean, the way that we function in the tech world could bleed into real life. And it probably already does. I just don't get out enough. I don't know. But in the dream, it felt completely normal. Most of the time. That's what unsettled me when I woke up. It was exaggerated, but familiar. Because it's kind of what it feels like I said, with software, games, and even the way we work. We've gotten used to paying for the basics, so used to add-ons and the upgrades, and we don't even question it anymore, really. My brain was just turning that into reality, into a weird Western theme with bad locks and missing doors. But underneath it, I think it was about ownership and how little we truly own anymore. Not just in tech, but in life. Everything feels temporary. From the apps we use to the platforms we rely on. It feels like we don't own anything anymore. I don't have binders full of games, software, music, and movies. In lots of ways, I don't mind. It certainly cuts down on the clutter, because if you didn't have the CD binders, you had shelves for your CDs and DVDs. If I want to play a game on my desktop and then play that same game on my TV or my laptop, I can quickly and easily. And music, there is no one more thrilled than me that I can command my Alexa to play any song I want, anytime I want. For an ADHD brain like mine, I can tell you that it is amazing. I don't want anyone to start thinking that I'm a Luddite. I love technology, and I love learning new things, and I love using tech. Home automation is a very casual hobby of mine. I rent, so I can't do a lot, but what I can do, I do, and I do love the modern conveniences. But I do miss the old ways, Winamp and ripping CDs to the desktop, or going to a friend's place and picking a movie from the movie shelf to watch while we hang out. And I mean, from his personal collection. He had hundreds, if not thousands, of movies on DVD, and an excellent surround system. Anyway, even getting excited about a game release and having that CD or CDs to install and knowing that it was going to be great. You waited for a long time, you had it, you installed it, and you knew it was going to work and be fun. As opposed to now, when I get sort of excited about a game release, but I'm always wary and usually wait a month or months before purchasing, because I know it'll be busted on release. Maybe that's kind of what my dream was kind of poking at. Not that the old ways were perfect, but that they kind of had a completeness that we've lost nowadays. Back then, a product had an ending. It shipped, it worked, you owned it. Now we release things half done and fix them as we go, and we call that progress. But I think there's room for something in between, like a hybrid of the permanence that we used to have and the flexibility we've gained. Like, updates and patches are great when they genuinely make things better, but maybe we need to bring back some of that sense of responsibility that came with finishing something before you handed it into the world. Old doesn't mean obsolete, and new doesn't automatically mean better either. Somewhere between the box software of the olden days and the endless subscription, there's a version of tech that represents and respects both creators and users, something that feels complete again. Anyway, that was a bit of a longer episode this week. I tried something a little bit different this week. It was a little bit looser. I have kind of some notes and kind of part of a script, but I really didn't. I felt that the last few times I've been a little scripted, so I wanted to be a little bit looser this time. I hope you guys appreciate that. Anyway, thank you for listening to Debugging Midlife this week. As usual, I appreciate you tuning in. If you like the podcast, have questions, concerns, thoughts, let me know. If you have an idea for a future podcast or something you want to chat about, let me know that as well. I love to hear from the folks that are listening, or I would love to hear from the folks that are listening. Anyway, have a great rest of your week. Bye.